of it, and I'm actually very small. So basically, if you think you can code, just look at those instructions, and if you can understand, then you know a lot more by coding than you think you do. So reading and writing English is a very hard thing to do. English is very hard because it has a lot of rules, and it has a lot of exceptions also, which makes actually English one of the hardest languages to learn. For example, why do we park on a driveway, and why do we drive on a parkway? It makes no sense. But if you look into coding, actually, you use a lot of English words, and it has very logical and consistent rules. If you go ahead, you should go to Lines of Goals, then you notice that they have a lot of English words, and they actually have a structure to it, and a syntax that you can understand. And code is sexy also, by the way, you can see it. Also, if you still think you can code by now, well, you're coding every time you're on Google and putting something on the text box, because you're basically telling Google what to do. So what is coding? Coding is basically communicating with the computer. It's telling the computer what to do, giving instruction. The computer will take those instructions and interpret them and make all those calculations and ultimately come up with your final answers. Coding is basically everywhere. It controls every electronics you have, from you're running your computer to figure out the lighting patterns for your traffic lights, everything. So there's a lot of possibility with coding. So now we're just going to go straight into coding, and I give you a few seconds for you to read and figure out what that code does. Yay, margarita! You got it. So it's just to show you that you can basically look at a code and figure out the structure and get the name out of it, and then basically know what it does. Pretty straightforward. So we'll go back to the code, and coding is like a recipe. First of all, you need all the ingredients, and you need to figure out what ingredients properties you need in order to start the recipe. And then after that, you need the conditions, and then the different actions that you need to do if the conditions are true or false, and ultimately the final results, which is the reason why you're doing all the coding for. So coding is great because it basically has the answer to every question you may not have. Coding is great to search, you can organize, you can calculate, you could display information, you could get information. There's a lot of possibility. Coding is written also so it can respond to human action. For example, when you have an alarm clock, depending on if you push on your snooze button or you're not pushing, or you're disabling the snooze button, it will actually do something totally different. Coding is awesome because you can do more with less. You can spend hours writing the same thing all over again, or you can spend a few minutes and write codes and do the same thing. So what would you rather do, coding or just spend a lot of hours doing something inefficient? And coding is awesome because you can do processes that takes a lot of time, and you basically continuously check the condition. You have to do it, and no matter how fast the condition is, will do. Sorry. Ultimately, coding is awesome because you can basically do everything with it. It can make decisions for you, you can make processes, and basically automate everything. So one thing you need to remember if you're coding, remember that computers are really good at following instructions, but they're very horrible at reading your mind. So keep that in mind all the time. Another thing that you have to keep in mind is you will fail. You will get the blue screen of death. But it's not that bad because compared to just a biochemical experiment where you blow things up, you probably won't screw up that much. You won't get any physical damages unless you get really angry and frustrated and you take matter in your own hands. So remember, whatever you do, save your data. Everything you do, save. So altogether, next time you see code, just go ahead, look at it. Look at familiar words, look at patterns, start a project you care about, and make your own recipe. Have fun, and happy coding.